Nscaler 454 here. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to be looking at this Rapido GMD-1 in N scale, so stay tuned. So we'll take it out of the packaging, which is really nice. It comes in this cardboard sleeve. And we'll pop off the lid. It has these little extra accessories, which for the most part I don't really know what they are. And we'll take it out, nice and careful. And there we go. This locomotive is DCC with sound, and if we look at the details, the main body is molded quite nicely. We have the louvers, you can see rivets, all the doors and cabinets are all quite sharp. The handrails right here, they are molded into the plastic, but they are painted, which gives it a better look, if you ask me. The handrails right here, they are plastic, which means they are quite flimsy. They do look very plasticky. But overall, not too bad. I did notice that, at least on my model, the supports, some of them are quite straight, and then other ones start to kind of tilt back. So, like that, which is not a big deal. It's not that noticeable, but it is there. The trucks, they look pretty good. Maybe not as sharp as some other models I've seen, but still very good. Fuel tank, I'm not sure what this tank is right here, maybe oil or something, but I like that it's there because it fills in this gap. The roof, we have, air horns, some exhaust vents. These grills right here on the top, if you catch the light just right, you can actually see through it, and you'll see a reflection or of something metallic underneath. It's not a fan, so it's probably just, the chassis or some electrical wire or something underneath it. But what's cool is the fact that that is perforated so fine that you can actually see through it, which is really cool. I'm interested to see when we get to testing it, is the light going to bleed through this at all? We'll see. On the one side, we have all this, which is pretty ordinary, light numbers, but we do have a door and a little step right there. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little step right there, which I like. On this side, all of this is identical to the other, but we do have a grill, lights, numbers, and we also have a door and steps here, and we have a door and steps here. So I really like those little details in the cab. I think that this right here is something that would go over the top of one of the windows. Not sure why I'd put it on, but I think that's what goes on there. I still have no idea what these are. If anybody knows, let us know in the comments. A couple of things I would have liked to seen a little bit better is this whole area here is not that detailed. I could have seen some better details with the hoses and the chain. I have seen online a person did install some working ditch lights, and they looked amazing, but he did say that it was a nightmare to install, so I don't blame Rapido for not putting some real ones in there, but it sure would have been cool. And then there's the white paint, the cyan noodle, the handrails right here. I wish it was a little bit whiter or more bold of a white, because it just looks a little bit dull, and in certain light, it kind of looks a little bit gray or silvery, and I just would have liked to see that a little bit more white. But again, it's not that bad, it's just my own personal preference. And of course we have to weigh it. This one comes in at 74 grams, which, considering it's a 4-axle locomotive that's not that big, that doesn't seem that bad. So while everything looks great on the bench here, let's see how it looks on the layout, and more importantly, let's see how it performs. With the locomotive on the track, I just programmed it to my Digitrack system, and we'll see. I have a light on, which would be the front, and the other way, light on that way, so let's give it a run. Well, that sure didn't go far, did it? I already cleaned the track to make sure it was, clean. So, ooh, that is not going far. I wonder if the wheels on this are just too dirty. So, Maybe there's some oil or something on it. So I'm going to clean the wheels and then we'll try this again. A little alcohol. And we'll just go over this a few times. Track is definitely clean. Wow. This is frustrating, I would say. So my first impressions, aside from the fact that it took quite a bit of cleaning just to get it to move more than maybe half an inch at a time, the motor is definitely fairly noisy, which I've seen a few other locomotives the same way, but it's audible, that's for sure. Let's see how this runs at the slowest speed. This is speed setting 1 on my Digitrax. Seems to have a nice crawl speed. I like it. It's not bouncing around or stalling out, which is really good. And we'll try it in the opposite way. Okay, we'll come in from a decent speed and slow it right down and see how the slowdown speed is. I like it. It's got a good progressive brake to it. Now I'm just going to crank the speed and we'll see what kind of momentum it takes to get up to that speed. So this is speed 14. It's smooth. It's not slow, but it's definitely smooth to get up to that speed. Okay, let's test the sounds. There's no coupler sound. Pressing 3 on the Digitrax, there's no coupler sound. There's a second horn button. Option... Is that a double horn? Let's push that. This is just going on its own. I pushed option 5 on the Digitrax and it went crazy. Let's do that again. Alright, I'm not sure what that's about. It's almost like they gave you 5 different horn sounds. And it runs them all on option 5. Okay, well, let's start it up. It definitely has an older kind of diesel-y sound to it, which I really like. I gotta say, the speaker on this is outstanding. It's really good. And here we're doing a pull test. We have 6 of the Rapido GP20 tank cars, which are relatively heavy. So we'll see just how well this does. This is power 8 on the Digitrax. And it makes it up the track with no issues at all. And this is with 8 cars. No issues at all. We'll see if we can make it up the hill with 9 Rapido cars. Ooh, it feels like it's slowing down a bit right here. But it's still going. Ooh, bit of a snag there. Bit of a snag. A little bit of a hiccup right here. We'll crank the power here and just see if we can make it up this last little bit. And it looks like we made it. This is now 10 cars. Oh, that might be it. We'll crank the speed to 20 and we'll see if it can make it up it now. Come on. Ooh, it's slowing down. Oh, it's still moving. It's still moving. Yeah, I think it's gonna make it. Oh my God, oh, it stopped right there. And it looks like 10 just is not going to happen, but I am still very impressed. I didn't think it was going to do more than 8, so yeah, to almost get 10, that's pretty good. Let's take a quick peek at the lights. They seem to be reasonably bright. I would say in person they are more on the warm white side than the bright white, which I feel is more period correct. Doesn't seem to be any kind of bleed through the top grills there, which is good. So yeah, no, I think that looks really good. It would have been nice to maybe have the road numbers illuminated, but I don't know, maybe this is correct as well. If we were to give some scores or rankings to this Rapido locomotive, starting with detail, I would give it a 7.5, maximum 8 out of 10. I think 7.5 is fair. The back end right here, this is again identical to the front, which doesn't have a tremendous amount of next level detail. It all looks very, very good. It looks excellent, but the railings do look kind of plasticky. And I mentioned the white, which maybe this is the shade that it's supposed to be. Maybe it's supposed to be kind of a silvery color. You can compare it to the road number. But then when you compare it to the railings, there's not really any kind of contrast. And I just feel like that's a little bit missing. But again, it looks very, very good. I'm not unhappy with it at all. I think for what you get, this thing looks amazing, especially when you put it on a layout. Like, wow, it looks super cool. I love this design. For quality control, I would give it a 7, mainly because it didn't run well at all out of the box. I suspect there was some oil on the wheels, which is probably a good thing in the sense that it's, we know it's lubricated, we know it's not going to rust, but at the same time, why would it, sitting in a box? So I feel like you shouldn't have to do that much cleaning just to get it to run more than an inch, when you first put it on the layout. So that definitely drops its score for me. There's also a few, bent railings and things like that, which are nothing major. It's very, very minimal. But quality control, yeah, I'd say probably a 7 out of 10. For sound, I am ranking this 9 out of 10. I think the sounds were great. The volume was very loud, which is really surprising out of such a small locomotive, but it was great. I think the sound programming was really good. There is no coupler sound, which for me doesn't make much of a difference, but for some that might, and the fact that other locomotives offer that and this one doesn't, that does kind of hurt its score a little bit. But overall, I think the sounds that it provides are very, very good, and I couldn't be happier for me. So I like it. Finally, we have performance, and I would rank this an 8 out of 10, maybe 8.5 out of 10. Because when it's all cleaned up and running like it should, it does perform really, really well. It is very smooth. There's no jagged motion when it's, trucking along. In the slower speeds, which I think this locomotive is more likely to see. It's not really a mainline locomotive. So to be playing around in the yard and moving freight around, I feel like it is very smooth. The lowest speed, speed setting number 1, it does crawl from it really good. It's maybe not the slowest I've ever seen, but it is reasonable, and it's very smooth, which is, for me, very important. And for such a small locomotive, this thing's a bit of a puller. I am really impressed with the fact that it pulled 8 of those Rapido cars up. Really, it did get 9 up, and it didn't quite do 10, but this is not an easy climb. And we're talking a 16.5-inch radius, 2% grade, and those Rapido cars are a bit heavy. So that is not an easy climb. And for such a small 4-axle locomotive, I feel like it did great, and I am very impressed by that. And that will do it for this review. If anybody has one of these locomotives, please leave a comment to let us know how it works for you. What it does well, what it does maybe not so well, any maintenance, things like that. It's always good to know. And if you liked the video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe for more videos, and thanks for watching.